The August 14th, 2018 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. For the courtesy of all of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and they are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address this board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Ms. Beth McCall, District 2.
Here.
Dr. Heidi Mayer, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Kyra Shafty, Director of Teaching and Learning, please introduce the individuals who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. McCall. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Dr. Mayer, Ms. Martinez-Lopez, Mr. Gibbs, and Ms. Prestipino. Tonight I have the privilege of introducing 3 stellar educators who will serve as tonight's inspiration. Ashley Wynn, our first year 6th grade mathematics teacher at Liberty High School. We have Lori Bates, who brings 14 years of teaching experience to the Future Educator Academy at Vanguard High School. And last but not least, Miss Joanne Dillard, art teacher at Fort McCoy, who has over 40 years of service to the profession.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Wynn, and I am blessed to say that I am a 6th grade math teacher at Liberty Middle School. I am a product of the Marion County Public School System, being that I graduated from Denellen High School in 2014, and I just recently graduated from the University of Central Florida on August 4th. I brought my cap to prove it. If someone would have asked me a year ago where I would be a week and a half after college graduation, I would not be saying teaching 6th grade students. I would be telling them that I would be preparing for law school. But prayers get answered in very mysterious ways, and here I am standing before you, getting to tell you why I chose to become a teacher and what my goals are this year to help students out and to be able to bless them and show my passions and goals for the school year. I have always based my life on helping others and making all of my decisions based on what it would do for other people. Growing up, my mom would always tell me before heading off to school, "Be a light in a dark place today, babe." Well, I've taken that quote from my mom and I've applied it to now my students. I want to be their light in a dark place. This quote has changed my life in many ways. This school year, it is my goal to make a difference in a student's life by, again, being their light in a dark place. Not only do I want to teach them the math, which is the subject that I am passionate about, but I also want them to know that there is someone who is their cheerleader from the background and who will always be there for everything that they are wanting to do in life. That to me is the best part of what we as a school system get to do in the lives of our students. As Snow White says, remember you're the one who can fill the world with sunshine. And I believe that as teachers and administrators and as people of the school board, we can create our students to fill the world with sunshine. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Bates, and I'm leading the Future Educators Academy at Vanguard High School. Although this is my first year teaching in Marion County Public Schools, I bring 14 years of teaching experience to my classroom. The greatest asset I bring to my students is my passion for education. I absolutely love being a teacher. In our classroom, my students will learn theory, best practices, and Covey's 7 habits so they can be successful interning at Oakcrest Elementary. I'm so thrilled to begin this incredible journey with my future educators. I hope that my passion for education impacts the lives of my students by inspiring them to the best career in the world, being a teacher.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Dillard, and I'd like to thank Mrs. Jones for being here. Thank you. To make a difference in students' lives, I think you need three things. A backbone. You need to be strong for them. Let them know they can always depend on you, and you'll always be there for them. Listen to them and be their biggest fan. A wishbone. Be positive and enthusiastic about life. Fill their hearts with great dreams and wishes for the future. See them as the beautiful, successful human beings they will become. Encourage them. And the last thing, a funny bone. A good sense of humor is essential when working with students. It can break the ice in many situations. It can diffuse a potentially negative situation. Laughter and humor reduce stress, tension, and boost the immune system and releases mood-enhancing endorphins. Laughter and humor are very powerful tools. As a retiring teacher, how do you sum up a lifetime of touching students, so many lives, crying over some, celebrating many, watching them have great careers and grow to wonderful adults with children of their own? To me, Dr. Seuss sums it up. How did it get so late so soon? It's night before it's afternoon. December is here before it's June. My goodness, how the time has flown. How did it get so late so soon? Please stand for the pledge.
I want to say thank you. What a great way to start the very first board meeting of the 2018-19 school year. Thank you so much. Miss Ashley, we wish you all the luck in the world, and we want to be here to support you, to keep you here. So good luck. Thank all of you so much for what you do. Mr. James, you want to say?
You know, every time I sit here and look at the youth in your face, I think about Mark Vianella. Because I remember him in his youth. And I remember so many of you when y'all were there. If you want to know what this journey will be like, look at some of the people that I've had in high school. And I was there when they began their journey. Teaching is the greatest adventure that you guys will undertake. Every time that door opens, there's an emergency or something in somebody's life that you can affect. So I want to congratulate you guys for choosing the profession, because it is something that they will talk about for many years. And every time you go out, when you get to be my age, you will see someone that recognizes Miss King over here as her teacher, and they will begin to recognize you, and you will really know you made an impact when they're kids, when your kids recognize your teacher, recognize you as a teacher, when other kids recognize you. It's an important field, and I want to congratulate you guys for taking the journey.
Miss Stacy?
And I tell you, when you spoke about being a sixth grade teacher, I was just so proud of you, because to me, that's where we lose them, is in middle school. And I know that's where the teachers need our special prayers and blessings, because that's where sometimes the students are that's where they're making big decisions about which way they're going to go. And by the time they get in high school, sometimes they're kind of over it, and if the teachers survive. But, you know, I think back about my kids' middle school teachers, and wow, my daughter even today, she's a graduate from University of Florida as a civil engineer, and she still shakes her head. Gina Dickey was her honors, one of her teachers there. And Miss Dickey still carries around this bowl that my daughter signed and all of her students signed, so many years ago. My daughter's 30 years old now. And so there's just so many great things. My daughter just remembers so many great things on my sons about the teachers. And I can't thank you enough because everything my children are today, thanks to y'all.
Thank you. Well, immediately when you said law school, what came to my mind is there's somebody who was actually running for judge, and she was originally a teacher. So I had this, oh no, don't leave us for law school and then become a judge one day. But that's for you to figure it out. But I wish you the best of luck. But you heard words of wisdom tonight from 40 years of experience. And that was your backbone, your wishbone, and your funny bone. And if you can absorb and figure out those words now, your future is it. And I thank you for your experience, and you too, 14 years. I mean, you're in a noble profession, and we're just very grateful for you. Thank you.
Ms. Boynton?
Welcome. You know, a teacher has been, I would say, you know, my mom was a teacher, and when I was little, teaching and learning was something just like I still do that, you know, because and I know all of you, you're gonna have I'm gonna pray that you have a great year, okay? And I know if if you have anything, just call me, okay? The best that I can. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Mayor?
You mentioned December, and that in what you said, it was December signals an ending, but remember, December also signals a new year. And so there's, I'm sure, something new on the horizon, but just know that the door is always open for you here. So, yes, absolutely. And thank you both, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great year.
With the exception of item C15.1, under item, which has been pulled and placed on the regular agenda for discussion, I recommend approval of the agenda for the August 14th, 2018 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation? Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for June 7th, 2018 School Board Administrative Briefing and Work Session? Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. King?
Do. On our minutes for number 5, the presentation, it has an update for the turnaround schools on the June 12th. And if you remember, we did not have you weren't here, Ms. McCall, but there was discussion about other schools, but it was not on our turnaround schools. And I specifically made note that they would please correct that. That has not been corrected. And also on our agenda for like our presentations, there's a list, and on there for our updates for turnaround schools for June 12th, it is still listed that we were given an update on the turnaround schools. And I think that needs to be corrected because, you know, so I would like to see that correction as noted on June 12th.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Martinez-Lopez. With that amendment and corrections, all those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
And opposed, like sign.
Will that show, when will that show? How will I see that amendment? Because how will?
I will have the correction, and I will show it in the minutes.
We'll get it emailed
So
tomorrow.
we'll see the minutes again to vote on, because I'm not comfortable voting for something unless okay.
So you want it brought back?
Yeah, let's
I
table
want
it.
it brought back because this, in the future, if they're saying they discussed turnaround schools with us and there was no turnaround schools, then it could reflect on us later.
Okay, so, Mr. Gibbs, do we need a motion to table?
Yeah, just table it, and then I'd say for a specific date, so that it's certain to get back on another
So,
agenda.
Ms. King, if you would make a motion to table for our next board meeting?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to table the board minutes for our next meeting, please.
Second.
June 7th, 2018 board minutes.
Yes, the June 7th. You want me to repeat it, or we good?
Fine.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. James seconds. Ms. Martinez Lopez, can you give us a vote? Can you put it up on our screen? Yes. Okay, that is, we did not vote on that.
That's June 7th.
Yes, but we didn't vote on those. We voted to table the June 7th minutes, make the corrections, and we haven't voted yet. We have a motion and a second to table the June 7th minutes, to correct them with Mrs. King's correction, and then to bring them back.
August 28th.
So now we need to vote on the motion to table.
There we go. That's the table.
So,
We'll need to vote on that one.
okay, here we go. Now, all those in favor of tabling the June 7th, please vote aye. Any opposed, nay.
Mine just says approve the minutes.
Okay, it still says approve the minutes for the June 7th. We're approving to table the minutes. So you'll need to handwrite that and we'll do a verbal vote on this.
There it is, right there.
No, it says approve the minutes.
It says approve the minutes.
Yep, right there.
Can we just do a verbal and then she just?
Yeah, we can just do it verbal.
And then she can.
Ms. Lopez?
Okay.
You got it?
All right, so all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? So the motion to table passed 5-0. All righty. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for June 12th, 2018 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James,
Second.
seconded by Ms. King. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none or hearing none, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you all. Dr. Mayer, you have a turnaround school update for us.
Yes, Ms. Hamby will come on up, and with her tonight, Mr. McGowan, Ms. Beck, and also our area directors, who are going to fill you in on what they do specifically for our turnaround schools.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Mayer, Mr. Gibbs, Mrs. Martinez Lopez, and Mrs. Prestipino. This evening, I have several directors assisting with the Turnaround Schools update. In addition to Mrs. Beck and Mr. McGowan, of whom you're familiar with from past presentations, I want to introduce our area directors, Melissa Kynard for Area 1, John Curley, Area 2, and the Area 3 director, Ben Whitehouse. The objectives this evening will be to share about how the area directors are playing an integral role in the work in the turnaround schools. Also give examples of the district support that we're giving to the turnaround schools, outline topics for upcoming school board meetings, review the dates for the community assessment team meetings, and at the end, provide an opportunity to ask questions. So to begin, Mr. Curley is going to share about the support given in regards to the school improvement plan process.
Good evening. And number one, I want to focus on the fact that with our new structure, our main goal is streamlined communication, both between schools and, of course, between the district and those schools. So one of the first ways that we are going to focus on this is an identified area of focus for every single school. This is extremely important because their information is individualized to that school. What are those individual student needs? So we will begin that way by looking at the student achievement data, which of course has been released already. We also refer to this as the student problem of learning. What are the issues that the students are having and how can we provide support towards that? We refer to this as the what. We move then to strategies focused specifically on strengthening the instruction taking place in the classroom to assist with these student problems of learning. That will be the why. And then moving on to the how. Those two things combined will lead to a professional development plan that will be focused around those two areas that I spoke about before. Each time any one of the area directors goes into the school, all of our conversations with the school administration will be focused around these areas. And we will then go into classrooms and see and monitor how this plan is being implemented in each one of the individual schools. We'll move now next to
Mr. Curley, before you leave us, could you just identify your area? Which
I'm
area? and your
area
schools?
2, basically, and I'm kind of the south central area going from 8th Street and Osceola area and then south, encompassing the high schools of Bellevue, Forest, and Lake Weir, and all the feeder schools there. Yes.
Good evening, board members. I'm Ben Whitehouse. I'm the area director for Area 3, so I'm all of the west side of Marion County. So I have Westport and Denellen high schools and all the schools that feed into them, as well as MTI, MTC, and Hillcrest schools. So when we met as a team this summer and we talked about how we can provide ongoing support to our schools, all of our schools, but specifically talking about our differentiated accountability schools, one of the things that we talked about was we've got to make sure that we are on-site providing support to our school principals and to our teachers and working collaboratively with them to improve their schools. So we set up a rotational schedule, which you'll see we mentioned up there. Our rotational schedule is for all of us to be in our schools on a weekly basis without us stepping on each other's toes and making sure that we are very focused and intentional in what we're doing in our schools. So for instance, in week 1 in Area 3, it would be my week, and I would visit my DA schools, my turnaround schools, and we would be focused on what the instructional goals of that school were and what the leadership goals are. We would visit classrooms. We would collect examples of student assignments. We would collect examples of student work. We would sit down and we would talk about, is this work meeting the level of the standards? Is it meeting the instructional focus of those schools? And what does the student level of work look like? And how can we move that in a positive direction if it's not where we want it to be? We'll also spend time looking at data in our visits and talking about what does the data show us about our students? Are we moving in the direction we want to be? And if not, how do we get there? So week 2, Ms. Beck, who is our Director of Elementary Education, might be the next person visiting, and her focus is a little bit different. She's focused on the elementary curriculum. And so she's going to be looking, especially this year, at our new ELA curriculum, a CKLA program, and also looking at the use of interventions in the classroom. Are we using the appropriate interventions, and are they meeting the needs of our students to get the results that we need to help our students grow and learn every day in those classrooms? And then Ms. Hamby, who would follow up week 3 as a visit, would be focused on the DA supports. What is the state expectation for those schools? Are we meeting the goals and objectives laid forward? And are we continuing to progress those schools in a positive direction? So that will be our support on an ongoing basis. So every week, one of us will be in those schools providing support to help those teachers and those administrators move those schools in a positive direction. And now I'll turn it over to Melissa Connard, who will share with you our holistic approach from the district.
Good evening, board members. I'm Melissa Keinert, and I'm Area 1, which North Marion High School, Northside Pride, and Vanguard High School, and all of the feeder schools that feed into those two high schools are my area. As Mr. Whitehouse mentioned, the district monitoring and support of the instructional focus for each of those schools. Every time that we are in their schools, the DA schools, we'll be walking through the classrooms with the school-based principals, with their leadership teams, so that when we're on their campuses, we are having those strategic conversations, and we can see where we need more strategic identified areas of support. If the areas of support that we have already placed into the schools and the principals have placed into the schools are working, we'll be continuing to look at that data to know whether or not we need to infuse that school with additional support from the district, from us, from Ms. Beck's elementary education program, and from some of the other support personnel that are in her department. And with that being said, we will move into Ms. Beck from Elementary Education Department.
All right, good evening. Very excited to be joining the Elementary Education Department. As it was just previously mentioned, we do have a new English Language Arts program rolling out this year, CKLA, and we are very excited about that. We want to make sure that all of our teachers have the support that they need to roll that program out effectively, and we have already spent a lot of time putting or generating some support material to assist all teachers with that. Specifically now with turnaround schools and bottom 300 schools, what are we doing from our department to assist these schools and most importantly the teachers within those schools? This year I have hired 3 program specialists that will be supporting in each one of the 3 areas, so area 1, 2, and 3. Those individuals will be out on a regular basis in classrooms. They can be supporting teachers. They can be supporting our coaches. It will really be based upon the needs generated from the school and also curriculum needs that we see that would be beneficial to the school to work to implement or beneficial to those in all of our district. In addition to that, I have also hired a reading program specialist specifically supporting our bottom 300 and turnaround schools. She is new to our district. She has been a former teacher. She also has administrative experience. And we have already spent some time together going to these schools, introducing her and really kind of already delving her into the way of work. She has also begun to participate in the initial DA meetings that they have. Those have begun this week. She will certainly be an integral part of, as well as those behind me as well, will be an integral part as they begin their first round of observations, and that's really when the DA team comes in and they conduct an instructional review, and from there really begin to generate where does our focus need to be in the classroom with teachers. And then finally, we are finalizing our plan for a strong intervention support this year. I don't think I know our teachers are going to be pleased with what we are rolling out. It is going to be very, it will be structured, but will allow them to put their own personal teacher spin on it. But again, I think we've got to get back to where we provide clear direction, because our goal this year is to make learning gains with our students. And one of the ways we're going to do that at our turnaround schools, bottom 300 schools, and really at all schools, is that we look at our students when we think about, I'll give the example in the area of reading, if we have a deficiency in reading, we've got to make sure that we're attacking that, and we're doing that in a very structured way. And that is what our team is finalizing. And the materials that our schools, the L300 or bottom 300 schools will need, we will be providing those materials. So they will have everything that they need to implement that. So looking forward to a great year with them, and we will be continuing to respond to their needs as we are out in those classrooms and out at those schools. And if they need it, we're going to make it happen this year. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McGowan.
Good evening, Board. As the area directors mentioned, as they go out this year and visit the schools, they're going to be having those data conversations with the principals. And so my role as we transition through the year with our turnaround school updates is to come back and provide you that information. Last year, we utilized iReady as our diagnostic assessment tool. We'll be using that again this year. And so, Mr. James, I think at one of the meetings you'd asked that we specifically look at cohort to cohort, apples to apples, of our students and how, where we're at now. And so that is my goal at not the next meeting, but the September 11th meeting. Now that we will have 2 data points for AP1, assessment period 1, my goal is to come back to you and provide that information. So at all of our turnaround schools, I'll be able to show you where they were at this time last year and where they're at this year and show you that comparison. Not only by grade level, first grade to second grade or first grade to first grade, but also hopefully student by student. So I'll be providing that information for you throughout the year. So that'll be kind of the format that I'll share it with you, and just wanted to let you know what will be upcoming in terms of sharing that data with you. Okay, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Hamby.
Thank you, Mr. McGowan. And as Mr. McGowan mentioned, he will be sharing those iReady data comparisons at a later date. So this slide actually outlines the schedule of topics for upcoming school board meetings. The next school board meeting on August 28th, we'll be sharing about the Unified School Improvement Grant funding that each of these DA schools is being provided through the state, and then hear about their expenditures and what they've put on their budget application. We haven't received the funding yet, but that way you can hear how they're planning to use those allocated money. And then September 11th, like Mr. McGowan mentioned, he will share the iReady data comparisons, because by that point we would have had the first assessment out of the way, and you would be able to get that information. And then September 25th, the instructional site review updates. Like the directors have mentioned, we've already been scheduled and meeting with the DA team. The state team has been coming out and having individual meetings with the principals, and they also have scheduled instructional reviews, which would be an entire day, and those are scheduled this coming month. And so we want to be able to give you a synopsis about those instructional reviews that we're having with the DA teams. Before ending the presentation, I just want to remind everyone again about our initial community assessment team meeting, which is scheduled for August 23rd, this coming week, along with the 3 other scheduled dates for the year. So the first district community assessment team meeting, we sometimes refer to as the CAT meeting, will be held August 23rd at Oak Crest Elementary, starting at 5:30 p.m. This is an advisory council made up of the top schools, the schools that would be implementing a turnaround option plan this school year, the schools associated with the SIG-4 grant funding, and then also the Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters program that we have here in Marion County. The principals will share their data from the previous school year and their school improvement goals for this upcoming school year. And following each school's presentation, there'll be small group discussions that will occur to solicit input and assistance from the community. So in addition to the community assessment team meetings, I want to make sure and draw everyone's attention to Oak Crest Elementary's community meeting that we're going to have August 30th. And that also will be held at Oak Crest Elementary in the cafeteria. And just to make everyone aware, a new turnaround option plan for next school year will need to be submitted for Oak Crest Elementary School. This plan will include one of the 3 options provided by the state: reassignment of students or closure, charter, or an external operator. So community discussions will begin and soliciting input to help determine the best choice for Oak Crest Elementary. So again, that will be on August 30th at 5:30 in the cafeteria at Oak Crest Elementary. So I thank you for this opportunity for us to share with you this evening. Now I open it up if any of you have any questions for any of us.
Yeah, my turn.
Mr. James?
Okay, now, what I'm hearing here, this is the beginning point, right? This is the beginning point. Okay, now let me say this to you. If you come to school, you work hard, you behave. Now, I would like to have a point where we say, this is how many students came today, the first month. And this is where we are to next month. I want to look at attendance, because that's one of the biggest issues. When you guys are going around, walking around out there, looking at everybody, one of the first things, if a kid is not in school, he can't learn. So attendance. I want to look at behavior. What is happening in behavior? And then the most difficult thing, and I go back to Mr. McGowan, I want some numbers. when I say this to all these people that's sitting out here looking at this thing right here, that sounds really good, but when they come to us, we want to see some numbers. We want to know where they were on already at this point, where they are here, if we're moving, and if they're not moving, we want to know why they're not moving. Okay, now this is what I'm looking for. And when I look at all you guys that out there that's going to be out there in the different districts and things, every one of these schools have something in common. Come to school. They work hard. And the work hard should tell me, the data should tell me if they're really accomplishing anything. And it's not that difficult to know how many kids go into the dean's office and what we're doing with them. Because I think that's something that if we improve on those things, I think we'll improve on everything else that we do. I'm letting this go because this is the beginning. I just wanted y'all to know where my beginning is. Y'all can't tell me, but the next time we meet here that we don't have any data on their attendance and if they're improving or going down. Okay, I want to look at those things because I think that's the key to being successful in anything that you do. Come to school, work hard, behave.
That's true. They got to be there to learn, so you're exactly right.
And it's easy to get those numbers. Okay.
Stacy?
Mr. James said something that really kind of hit me when he talks about going to the dean. I don't know why, and I know I've talked about this with Dr. Mayer in years past, before she was on the board. Like, what is the problem with children going to the, why do we want to hold down referrals? There must be something with federal something or something that says if you have a certain amount of referrals, you're bad. But these children, to make our statistics look good, these teachers are pulling their hair out, keeping them in the room. And I know I did speak to Dr. Grantham, and he said that they were going in a different discipline direction than the direction we have been in, where kids had to have 3 strikes and they were out, but they had to get all 3 strikes in the same issue before. Then we had all these different things going. And so I would like to hear more about that. I'd like to hear more about our new behavior program that we're doing, because
Mr. Ellers can join us next meeting?
that would be great. I would like to hear about that, because what we've been doing for a long time with, what did you call it, Dr. Mayer? What was the one we had, positive PBS?
Yeah, when it's not working.
It wasn't working. And so I want to thank the district for making some changes there, and I'd like to hear just exactly what we're going to be doing now. I'd find that really interesting.
Do we want to do that at a workshop, or you want
It
to
doesn't
come
matter.
back to
We
a
can do
school
it at a
board meeting?
workshop, and that's fine, because we may have a lot of questions that we want to.
Yeah, I'd like to expand on it so that.
You want to include it with the UNICEF the next board?
We'll chat, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
let's do it at a workshop first, because we probably have some discussion about
Yeah,
it.
I think so. I think that's a very good idea.
And I just want to give a shout out to the deans and, Mr. Ellers and his department, and, all of us too, having the conversations with the principals, really setting those expectations. And that's what our first PD was with all of the schools together, was setting what those academic expectations, but also behavior expectations, and practicing that. And really the first week, the 2 weeks, is really setting the tone for the whole year. Because like Mr. James said, if they're not there, they can't learn, but also if they're not attentive to learn, they're not going to learn as well. So, I mean, just even this week, I know it's just been a few days into the week, but you really can see them practicing those routines, the kids being attentive, and the staff being very positive, setting such a positive tone for the school year. So, I just want to say kudos to the principals and their staff for setting that tone, that positive tone.
I just say kudos to getting rid of our old plan that wasn't working. Because there's teachers that's left the profession because of PBS not working. And so I look very forward to hearing all about our new discipline plan.
Good. I have one question. Ms. Beck, this might be a question for you. I don't know if it's Ms. Beck or Ms. Hamby, but you'll be able to tell in your observations and by the iReady data, attendance reports and all that, the teachers, you can pinpoint classrooms that are struggling. Am I correct? And then we will do individual plans for those particular classrooms. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So related to discipline and attendance, certainly we could use Skyward data to pull that out because that is where we're collecting that data is in Skyward. As far as academics, when looking at our iReady assessment, absolutely, we can look to see how individual students have done, but we also can see classroom performance. The final piece I would say is during that instructional review with the DA team, that is when we're spending a fair amount of time in classrooms, really looking at the instructional practices in the classroom, looking at what the students are doing in the classroom, and then also from there, that's another piece where we determine whether a coaching plan is necessary, and a coaching plan is not a bad thing.
No.
A coaching plan is to support whether they are new to the profession, whether they are a veteran, but again, I always say, we all have room to grow and improve, and so helping folks with their instructional practices. So yes, between the hard data in iReady and then observational data as well.
That's
Yeah.
perfect, thank
And
you.
I think that spins back around to it all blends into the discipline thing too, and giving that power back to the teachers, because, when we give it all to the deans for the discipline part, it takes away from that classroom responsibility too, and that classroom empowerment of the teacher as the instructional and discipline authority. So I think it's a great blend.
Go ahead.
Miss Borton has something.
I would like for our school board members, if we would get the senators and our representative to come with it too, because right now, with Evergreen, they are really ready to listen some different information for us. So if we could have a meeting for the come, that would be the best time right now. It starts, and right now it's early for them to be able to get all that information. Don't you think so?
Who do you want?
For our county,
Our
Senate
representatives.
and our representatives.
Oh, okay.
Because really, the only thing that for a turnaround school I'll tell you this, most of them, when they looked at Oakcrest and they were looking at Evergreen, they were looking at all these schools, most of them had their children here at these schools, and they were like, whoa. And so there are some things up in Tallahassee that they can be able to change some things around, and we need them right now, Okay? All right.
Mr. James?
Ms.
Oh,
King.
Ms. King, you had a question.
I have a question about the iReady. Did we ever compare, I know iReady has the predictor from last year, and then we had our FSA, and I know we talked earlier in the summer, and I don't know if there's something in the works or not to know how they compared, if it worked, because we're putting a lot of money in
So there
this.
was actually an attachment as part of the board approval packet for the renewal of the iReady contract, which I believe was a meeting or two ago and I can certainly get that to you where we did break it down. As a district for both ELA and math, the range of acceptability from iReady as a district, depending on the grade level, some we were in that range, some we were outside of it. When we look at the school level, we had some schools that it predicted exactly on point. So for example, if it said that a school was going to be 54% proficient in third grade ELA, it was 53 or 55, or even right on the number. Then we had some schools that were way off.
Yeah.
So I can provide that to you.
Yeah, I'm looking, did it have the breakdowns of the schools and the grade levels per each school? How'd I met? Yeah,
Had
I
it
would
for
like to see
AP2
that.
and for AP3, and then we compared it to
The FSA?
Yep.
It's so hard, though, when you're some of those forms, when you're
I
trying to go
understand.
back and forth and connect the dots, you don't even know really what you're looking at. There's so many papers.
I can
so many
provide it to you.
pages.
Do you want a work session, Mrs. King?
No, just provide that information to me, and then we'll see.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Mr. James?
I just want to say this to all of you guys. All of you up here has been principals before, except for one, possibly two. And I will remind you of something when it comes to discipline. You can get every kid out of the class, and a teacher will find a problem with air conditioning. Because I don't want these kids thrown out, and people are being creative and innovative in working with every youngster. And you know that, and you guys know what I'm talking about. And I just want to remind you, when I'm looking for the discipline aspect of it, I don't want to see how many kids you put over Sermi Greenleaf or whatever, I'm looking at what we're doing, and I want y'all to understand that. I recognize the fact that we have some people that don't want every kid to walk in a straight line, and they're not necessarily going to do that. So I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for you guys because you all have administrative experience, and you can walk in there and tell when we putting this kid in the corner and he may have a learning disability or something like that. And I just want to be very careful with that because I'm taking a hard line on attendance and discipline, but I do know how it works. And I just wanted to remind you guys of that.
Ms. McCall, I'd like to comment. Well, Mr. James, I'm looking a hard line on discipline because there's the teachers, it just becomes a revolving door. I remember a student in which you would absolutely know his family, and he was a discipline problem at a school. And his dad took him out and put him in private school. And I said, are you going to the office, continuing to go to the office every day? Where they had juggling, actually, at our school, won't even mention it. And he goes, no, ma'am, they whooped me there. And I said, really? And I said, so you don't go to the office every day like you used to do at this school with my son? He goes, Miss Blake, do you hear me? They give you whoopings over there. He didn't go. I'm not saying give them whoopings, but we need to give them something besides juggling to do when they go to the office. We need to give them something serious. Maybe, get creative with the parents coming down. Because I believe some of those parents, if we work a little harder to get them, I think if there's some parenting programs that I believe could be implemented that would help. And I'll probably be working with Evergreen on some of that. But a lot of it's great communication back home, and every parent is not going to be responsive. But we can't say parents don't respond, so we might as well not call them, because probably 80% of them will respond. So we can't throw them all out. So we got to find somewhere in between where we can get this discipline under control, because these kids are not going to learn if the entire room is being disrupted.
Ms. Stacy, maybe when we have our workshop and we learn of the new discipline program
I'm
that's in
excited
place,
about that.
maybe we can have some more of this discussion at that. I think we need to have the workshop, find out what that is, and really have these good discussions, because they're all good discussions.
If you come to school, work hard, and you're properly placed, guys. That's what I'm looking for. Make sure they're properly placed when you're disciplining. Okay?
Thank you all very much. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight.
Good evening. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to procedures for public comments, item number 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Madam Secretary, do we have anyone
We do.
to speak?
Jade Weeby?
So do I have to like spell out my name and stuff? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm Jade Webby, Webby, and I'm from Westport High School. Do I have to say my address? Okay, 8340 Northwest 47th Street, Ocala, Florida. Good evening, Marion County School Board and community members. I would like to take a moment to thank you all for attending this meeting and giving community members such as me an opportunity to speak. Like I said, my name is Jade Webby, and I'm a current senior at Westport High School of Ocala, Florida, and I stand here before you today representing myself and my peers regarding our concerns for Power Hour. Power Hour is what sets Westport apart from others, giving students and academic and extracurricular opportunities that were never before considered to be possible. As an extremely active student, I was always grateful for the flexibility Power Hour allowed. Because of it, I was able to participate as a student council officer for 3 years, National Honor Society officer for 2 years, Key Club president and lieutenant governor for the Florida District, member of the Math, English, and Science National Honor Societies, and a student athlete in 3 sports. Academically, I've gotten straight A's throughout my high school career in a multitude of honors and advanced placement college courses. I lost my spot. I fully credit Power Hour for my own successes, and I know of many who would argue the same. When Jane Elsperman first implemented Power Hour in 2013, the Westport High School failure rate went from 19% to 3.4% in just 1 year. These were incredible statistics, and I think we should be fighting for it because it's an incredible opportunity. By allowing students this opportunity to visit any of their teachers to make up work without transportation or availability being an issue, their academic opportunities were revolutionized. Power Hour is also what fostered the development of over 50 clubs campus-wide, ranging from service-based organizations to passion-based ones to clubs that built support communities for students needing them most. Westport blossomed when Power Hour came into effect, and it became a model for schools around the nation. By replacing Power Hour with a split or block lunch, Westport students' specialized style of education, the one that helped them grow into such successful students, diminishes entirely. As a school board, we trust you all to make the decisions that will benefit us the most as students, and I understand the safety concerns that are at work, but ask that you do everything to come up with other solutions to save Power Hour for us. I hope I was able to illustrate to the full extent what Power Hour means to Westport students like me. To my fellow peers listening now, let us all work together to achieve what is the best for our friends, family, community, and education, while appreciating those like you all doing the same. I'd like to thank everyone once more for allowing me to speak in front of you this evening. And as we say at Westport, remember, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. Let's make a great day today, Marion County, and of course, go Wolfpack. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Thank you very much for your passionate plea. Thank you. Are there others?
No, ma'am. One after. Yes, the one for the right.
May I have a motion to hold a public hearing and approve the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool? Moved by Ms. Boynton,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. I believe the superintendent has something.
This FSSAT assessment is being provided by the Florida Department of Education at no cost to the district to enable school safety and security officials to prepare for natural disasters, monitor security threats, and manage incidents in partnership with local first responders.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, please vote aye, and any opposed, like sign. Just give her a verbal.
Do I do a verbal?
Yes. Yes, okay. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C8.1-C23.1 with the exception of item C15.1, personnel items for 2017-2018 school year, which has been pulled and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. Motion? Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the food service agreement with Francis Marion Military Academy for 2018-2019 school year?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James, seconded by Ms. King. Superintendent, I believe you have something, and then I would ask Mr. Gibbs to also explain further.
Thank you. Francis Marion Military Academy has requested food services from the school board, but refuses to sign the services template agreement. I have our agreement that has been signed by other entities and that has been signed years prior by Francis Marion. They are striking out 10 items that I'm sure Mr. Gibbs will get into, but that includes indemnification, compliance with laws and policies, public records. They refuse to abide by that and sent their own contract, which is what the document is that is uploaded. Of course, I'll let Mr. Gibbs speak for himself, but I need to bring that to your attention that it is my recommendation we do not approve this unless they sign the contract that legal will approve.
Yes, I've worked with them, and every time we send our contract over, which includes public records, Mr. DeMenzez sends it back saying that we're the contractor and they're the one contracting with us for services. Under Florida Statute, Chapter 119, they are regarded as a public entity as well. And that is mandated by law to be in there, including what type font and what the paragraph as far as public records provisions go says. When we contract with the city of Ocala or the Marion County Sheriff's Office, it always includes a public records provision that has each contact for each entity if there's any questions regarding public records regarding that entity. As Dr. Mayer just said, I'll hit a couple of the biggest ones. For me was the public records. They refused to include no waiver of sovereign immunity for the school board and the assignment of the no assignments unless both parties agree in writing. So I will not approve a contract that removes those when it involves a public entity such as a charter school. So I refuse. The board can approve it if it wishes to, but I will not approve it.
Any discussion on that?
Well, I think we,
Yeah.
I think we got the point.
Well, I have a,
Yeah.
it's about the food services, and I understand what our lawyer is saying. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying that this school needs to understand the charter that it's about the food services that we have, and I would like for them to come back and talk to our lawyer, and because it's about the students, they may need food. Okay. Thank you for what you said, too. Thank you.
I'm going to stand with the attorney.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the food service agreement. So I'll call for the vote, and all those in favor. Yeah, the motion is to approve.
What
So
they've given us?
to approve the food service agreement with Francis Marion Military
Right, as they provided it.
as they
They're
provided,
struck through.
okay?
They included only the 9 provisions instead of
So
the
you would
19.
vote
Yeah.
no, not to approve it.
Okay, sound like you were telling us to approve it.
No, I'm saying the motion is to approve, okay? So, all those in favor of approving the food service agreement, vote aye. All of those opposed, vote nay. So the motion failed 4-1. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the revised item C15.1, personnel items for the 2017-18 and 2018-19 fiscal years? May I have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Ms. Boynton.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. James. And Ms. Boynton, you pulled this item for discussion.
Yes, please call Mr. Leopard. Would you come in to get the information? Thank you.
Mr. Leffert will explain what happened with this item.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Board members, Dr. Mayor, Ms. Prestipino, Ms. Elena Martinez Lopez, and Mr. Gibbs. Thank you for the opportunity to explain why we submitted a revision to the personnel items. This week, when it was being reviewed, the actual personnel items, we noticed that there was a clerical error in one of the headings. In an effort to be accurate in what is presented to you at a board meeting, we felt that it was important to revise that board packet with the correct heading and resubmit it today. So our apologies for that last-minute change, but I hope that explains the clerical error and that we wanted to be accurate.
What was the heading change?
The heading change originally said termination, and it was not a termination. The heading change was changed to not recommended to return, which means their contract had not been renewed.
Okay. You know, and while we're talking about this and any contracts that's involved, you will assure me on the public record that everyone that we've given contracts to, that they meet the board approved job descriptions.
We make
and
every
qualifications.
We make every effort we can to try and do that clarification. We go through certification, and we try to make sure whenever somebody is hired that it meets the job classification within our non-instructional, instructional, and administrative areas. Yes.
Okay. Not try, but tell me that they do meet the qualifications, not try. Tell me that, I mean, because they either do or they don't. That's a up or down.
We make every effort to make sure that happens, and we are human, so errors happen occasionally, but we try very hard not to make those errors.
Do we have any errors currently?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, so everyone that has been contracted with this district in administration, in any type of administrative position, meets the qualifications required by board policy.
To the best of my knowledge.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the revised item C15.1. All of those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, nay, or like sign.
And while we're on D25.1 for the food, would you, I should put no on it, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total of $67,670.25. $2,500 to Bellevue Elementary School from their business partner Bellevue United Methodist Church via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. $4,207.48 to Denellen High School from Herff Jones. $3,260.27 to Denellen High School from the Denellen High School Booster Club. $2,500 to Madison Street Elementary from their business partner Dr. Jones Orthodontics via the Public Education Foundation. Trucks and trailers valued at $47,050 to Marion Technical College from R&L Transfers, Inc. Trailers valued at $2,000 to Marion Technical College from Capri Furniture. Short blocks valued at $3,600 to North Marion High School from Subaru. Yamaha Harmony Director valued at $1,552.50 to North Marion Middle School. And $1,000 to Staten Weirsdale Elementary School from Marine Corps League Philip C. DeLong Detachment 1267. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. James and seconded by Ms. King. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. And the motion passed 5-0. And Ms. Stacy, would you like to say thank you tonight?
Yes, I would. Have you added it up?
Yeah, we added it up in the beginning, 67,000.
That's good, $67,000.
$670.
I would like to thank our wonderful people in the community. This is a time of the year where money's kind of tight for a lot of people. Vacations are just ending. People are getting children ready for school. Lots of things happening at this time of the year. People are buying new houses, getting back in different school districts and everything. And through all that, this community still brought together $67,000 for this school district in donations to help us. And I thank them for their generosity, because I know from what people tell me, this is normally kind of a tight time of the year. So I thank the community from the bottom of my heart for all that they do for our schools.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. And I would like to point out that the trucks and trailers that were valued at $47,000, this was an effort by Mark Vianello and his department. You know, we're starting the trucking school, I believe, Monday. Monday is the first class, and R&L Transfers actually donated those trucks. And that was coming together, getting with our business community. What did they need? Logistics and trucking is huge in this in this community. And so I want to thank Mark, because being able, we already have the first class full. We also were able to move a lot of things forward with career technical education because of those referendum dollars, and because we were able to do that. And trucking with MTC, although that doesn't fall into that, but because of the logistics program, we were able to move so much forward. So I want to thank Mark, and I want to thank R&L Transfers, because we have those trucks now to teach and have truck driving for those logistics programs that are in our community. So I think that's just great. Okay, we will start. Mrs. Boynton, I will start with you tonight on concerns and
welcome.
And celebrations.
Yeah, welcome to our, for our teachers and employees, welcome back. This is a new year, but I went to Evergreen and Oakcrest, and I thought it was a great day. But I'm gonna tell you, when I went to Oakcrest and the principal, and we walked in, and all of a sudden, I said, "Oh, that is beautiful," and she's like, "Oh, you like that?" I said, guess what it was? You wouldn't know, but anyway, there are windows, mirrors that the students, when they walk by, and it says, I am a teacher. You know, it's every time, wasn't it beautiful? Every time they can see who I am, you know, and I thought that was one of the things. And I told them that if they need some more resources, I'm going to tell you. I told you that. I said, I'm going to tell you. But, you know, it has to be all of us to do it. But I said, but I wanted to tell you that because it was such a beautiful day, you know, and so I had a good time. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Mr. James?
I have about 3 things. First of all, I know the kids from Westport is taking off, but I think at some point I'd like to have the superintendent, myself, and Mr. McFadden really meet with the student council and talk with them about the logic and the theory behind what we did. I know they will go back and they will be disappointed that we didn't respond tonight. I know people can tell them anything on why we did it, but I think they need to hear why we felt that we needed to make this move. And I don't want to be so insensitive to our kids when they come down.
That's great.
I did. If you know the kids that were here, let them know that we are really wanting to come with them and let them know why the decision was made. And I think that's so important.
That's a great idea.
Okay, so we're coming your way. Okay. And I know one of the things that we have is we got the staffing plan. The staffing plan that was presented to us at the work session. And the staffing plan is the superintendent's, I assume, and talking with the attorney. But when I look at this thing, I have some concerns about it in the sense that when I look at the school board sitting out here by themselves, and we have the school board attorney, one of the things that we talked about is we needed to have our own secretary. We need to have some people, when I retire, I need to have a secretary to write the letter to the people in Tallahassee. And I think in the past, I've always had a person that I could come to, but it's not listed here. And I think that need to be listed at who we would consider a school board secretary. The second thing, and this is important to me, is I would like for the board to set up a employee grievance board. And an employee grievance board is sort of like the tax adjustment board. You know, anytime I think everybody has sat on that board before, where you sit there where somebody have a problem with their taxes and something, they don't have to necessarily come and sit in front of the county commission, but they can sit with a group of people that's made up of community members. It can be a person from the school board, person from the community, and to listen at people, listen at employees, and whatever their grievance may be. Now, I don't know where that is in statute, but I talked with Mr. Gibbs about it and said some districts have really did something like this. Let me tell you the reason why. When I look at this staffing plan, the majority of the power of this staffing plan rests in the hands of the superintendent and his designees or whoever. I want people to be able to call and be able to say, I was wrong. I'll give you an example, and I know the superintendent worked on this, and I appreciate that. We had 2 people out there that have been with the system for over 30 years, and they're not represented by anybody. And they wanted to go from one level to the next level, but the only way they can get something said, they had to call and say, hey, would you look into this? When I look at the rest of the employees around here that feel that they have a legitimate gripe or what a grievance, not a gripe, a grievance, then this committee would meet with them. They could sit down and talk with them. They can bring it to the superintendent and then take it to the school board. I just feel very strongly, when I look at where we are going, that we need to have something where our employees have a way that they can vent and be heard outside of the system as well. Because when you look at this thing right here, the only people that have any control over anything in the school system, they have to either wait for 4 years or 2 years. And the employees are getting killed in between that time. And when I say getting killed, don't use that literally, guys. What I am saying, they need to have a way in which they can say, I want somebody to hear my story. I want them to hear my story, and it's not necessarily somebody that will be hearing their job that's afraid of their job. I want to have a group of people there that's just like the value adjustment, but when I think and I go back to that, is that when these people have an opportunity to really say something about what is occurring, I want them to be heard. That's where I am with that. Thank you.
You know, I'm going to dovetail off of that a little bit. That's kind of what the breakdown is when you have the elected superintendent versus the appointed superintendent. Because if you look at the organizational charts in districts with the appointed superintendent, the board is on top, then the superintendent, and then the employees. That's a major difference. With the elected superintendent, the school board really can't really be accountable for anything because the employees don't answer to them. And so therefore, they're just a policy group, and that's the way it's set up by the legislature or by state statute. But that's the reason the appointed superintendent, how it differs. And I went around just out of curiosity, and I looked at some of the districts that have appointed superintendents. I looked at their organizational charts. Completely different. The board is not sitting out here to the far right like it is on ours with not controlling anything, because the school board's sitting on the very top, and then the superintendent, and then it goes out from there, which then the school board is accountable first, because if it's not working out, the teachers or the public don't have to wait 4 years for an election to change the situation. Now, I also saw something interesting when I looked at the different organizational charts and flow charts. Some school boards have inspector generals and they have auditors. And they have, and I'd like to look into, okay, what does the inspector general do in a district? Some of the districts, I saw that. And I think that might be very helpful in a district like ours with an elected superintendent, where the school board would have that employee, the inspector general, that oversees a lot of stuff, for the school board and brings stuff back. So if y'all would like for me to do that, I'm gonna be, regardless, I'm looking for I'm gonna go out and check the job description and that sort of thing on that. And, because I just spotted it just this past week. And so we need someone auditing, some kind of inspector general or something that's keeping the board informed, so that we don't have these communication glitches, where there's so much going on and the board kind of gets left out of the loop. So I'll look into that.
Thank you. That's a good idea. Ms. King?
Did Mr. James have something to say real quick?
One of the things I want to say now, I would love to see us as a board have a policy working with the superintendent where we have a way of making sure that our employees have a voice. And I don't want, in November, when I'm no longer around and I'm looking at all these people suffering, and let me rephrase it, somebody's standing on their toes and they're afraid to say something. And I want them to have an avenue. Is this a difficult thing for us to do as a board, to come up with a policy that will give them at least some say-so in what's occurring?
Sure. Mr. Gibbs, are there other districts that have grievance committees?
And I know in Seminole County, they have a grievance board where it's it's a mixed group. You have high-level administrators, you have regular employees, any employees that's appointed to that board that comes from the, like in this case, it would be the same school, would be moved off, and the alternate would sit instead, so there's no bias. And they meet, the grievance come in, they do it, it's informal, you can bring an attorney if you want. The ones I was always sitting on, they never brought their own attorney, they just come in, tell their story, they can present witnesses as to what happened, and that board made a recommendation to the county manager, who would then make a final decision. It's not binding arbitration, it doesn't cost as much money, it's just the time of the employees, but it seemed to work pretty well there. They only had one union, and that was the fire union, so all the rest of the other employees in the county were satisfied that they had enough of a voice and enough of an avenue to grieve decisions there that they can do it. They did have a policy describing and laying it out, so you would have to implement that process.
Can you research and get some of those policies for us? Because I think it's a good idea, and most large organizations have some type of an employee grievance committee that they can go to. So let's at least research it and see what we can do.
Ms. McCall, while we're on this subject, what you're talking about, that was at the county?
Right, that was at the county level.
Because they do have an appointed county administrator also, so the county administrator
Right.
sits underneath, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. The board is up here, the county administrator and down, so it's kind of a similar thing. So they're talking, with the county, so when they're talking with the county administrator and their staff, that sits under the board and the board would find out. In our situation, it's different. And not just in Marion County, it's in all the elected superintendent districts. It's just a different way of working. And it's not to say anything bad about this one or any, it's just the way it sits. And it keeps the board from knowing exactly everything that's going on. And so that's where we're a little bit different. And
Right.
so
Well,
help me, I'll get with you and we'll put something together. And
we can do that. I would say it's made up of a variety of people. You could have a 10-person, you could have a 5-person. It would be up to the policy. You could have a board member on a rotational basis that sits on that committee as one of the administrative representatives, and that way the board would have a voice on that board. It's your policy. You could set it up how you wanted
I
to
think
set
it would be, I think it would need to be our employee that is running that, our inspector general, our auditor, our board secretary, or somebody.
Well, I think we're to consensus that we ought to at least look at this and come up with something, a couple of ideas, and bring it to the board, because I don't disagree with it at all. Okay, Ms. King?
It's funny you brought that up, because I just went to the Value Adjustment Board last week, so, and I was like, oh yeah, there was 2 county commissioners, a teacher, or a school board member, and then like 2 members from the community.
Right.
So,
See,
yeah,
that
we're
make a
looking at
difference. We
something
need to
like
have people from the community, the same as our IHOP board. Okay.
Okay, I just want to tell our students and teachers and our employees that had a great summer, welcome back, and we are so glad that you were here. And also, Mr. James, I found it funny that you mentioned air conditioning today, because I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about air conditionings at our schools. They're set at 75 degrees, which sounds reasonable until you are a classroom teacher that may be on a second floor, or there may be something weird going on with the humidity. And I know there's been issues in the past, like I think teachers are intelligent. They figure out ways how to click on the air condition, so they may put lamps or things by thermostats, and they've been burnt and things like that have happened. It sounds like, hey, when you're teaching, it's hot and you're walking around and stuff like that. But I experienced this as a teacher, but I'm hearing complaints from teachers. It's summer, and like I said, it sounds reasonable, but I think they're burning up. So I would like to have a work session on looking at, our air condition, and it's set at 75. Like I said, I understand the reasons behind it, but if we're looking at retaining our teachers, we at least need to have reasonable conditions. And I know it sounds funny, but until you're sitting in that hot classroom, and trying to work with your students, I think we should look at
So I think, Ms. Martinez-Lopez, if we can just get Robert Knight to give us information on why, and is there a solution?
Thermostats might not be working,
So-
too. Some of those thermostats flat might not be
They're
working.
Guys, why we gotta make a big deal about going over there
Yeah.
turning the thermostat down?
Right, can we just turn it down? for
Go over there
them?
and ask the superintendent to have them turn the
Okay,
thermostat
let's turn
down.
it down. Let's turn it down and let these teachers have some say-so, because they're hot. And I agree, Mr. James, so thanks. Maybe we can work on that
So can we
tomorrow.
turn it down to 74? Will that work?
Well, they can
How
make
about
73.
I was gonna say 73, and then let's get a feel from that.
Sure.
I think that's.
And thank you for bringing that to my attention. And I did not know, so thank you for that. And just like I had a couple teachers reach out to me and ask for the air to be left on last weekend and this weekend, it's been left on for them, knowing they're working in their classrooms on their own time. It's the least we can do. So if they're, putting in all this time and extra time, the least we can do is lower the AC. So absolutely.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll be appreciative. Also, being out in the community, there's fencing our schools. And I've had some interesting conversations, and I've even spoke to some fencing companies. And I know when we look at our fencing, we like the aesthetically pleasing fencing, but there's other avenues that other counties use, such as Polk and Pasco, Alachua and Lake County, where we can maybe look into chain link fencing with black vinyl. That's a lot less cheaper and could serve its purpose until we can, and they can do it pretty quick too, probably within weeks. And I would like us, or Robert, to look into that, especially in our high and middle schools, this the fencing from building to building.
Building to building.
Yes, because there's concerns in our community, and I understand that, it hasn't been addressed, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, can you get Mr. Knight to do that? Mm-hmm. Is that all, Ms. King?
Yes, thank you.
I want to say, yesterday I thought went very smooth. I was at the briefing yesterday afternoon, and things really, there were some glitches, but on a whole, things went very smooth. I want to welcome everybody back. I also want to just share a little bit about, one of our concerns is with some of our new teachers, if we can keep them 3 to 5 years, then we have them. So I just wanted to share that some of the things that are going on. Ms. Shafty today met with the CEP to help decide with some of their young professionals how they can network with other young professionals in the community. The Public Education Foundation is going to offer quarterly just some after school, just some fun nights, no administration, just these new young teachers to be able to come and mingle and interact with each other. So I think once we get started in school, we need to, because our county is so 1,500 square miles. We're big, and we get them isolated in their classrooms. They're tired. They go home. They don't have the ability to get to know anybody. So I want us to make a concerted effort to really, really continue to welcome our new teachers, give them the resources and the support that they need, because like that young lady that spoke, we want her to stay, and we want others like her to stay. So I just wanted to share with you that the Education Foundation is on it, the CEP, and we're working really hard to try to do some things to support them and make them a part of the community to get them to stay. So that's all I have. Dr. Mayo?
Well, thanks so much. Officer Wissinger, it's nice to have you back.
Thank you.
So how was the start of the school year? Because you're our SRO at Fort King Middle. How was the start of the year for you?
Great. I was ready to come back to work a couple weeks ago, so.
Well, we're glad you're back, and I saw the video that OPD put together, the welcome back and the SRO message. That was great, so thank you all for that. That was well done. We appreciate you, appreciate all of you. And I know that you work really hard to make relationships with those kids at Fort King Middle, and that's what helps you in your job and keeping things straight. And I think, Mr. James, that circles back around to what you mentioned about you got to show up and you got to behave. And I think, Mrs. Stacy, that you'll be very pleased when Mr. Ellers presents, because that's what his whole philosophy is relationships, and having Mr. Curley and Mr. Clymer on board with him, and also Mr. Vitale, that they have worked hard, and Mr. Ellers keeps saying relationships. You've got to have relationships, and that's the first step in having positive discipline at your school. And again, I thank you, Mr. James, for the outreach about having a meeting at Westport, and I know that will be very important to Ms. Cruz as well, as she has had meetings with her staff and with her students as well to explain to them that decision. But I think it'd be very powerful for you and Mr. McFadden and I to meet with them, so thank you for that. Business Services, Ms. Boston Ellis wanted me to share that their department is not only a vital part of Marion County schools, but they are so excited to support education in their own way. And Ms. Johnson, I see you in the back, and thank you for making the first day of school pizza day. That was awesome. Thank you. And it was wonderful as we visited the schools that I'll talk about in a minute, that even on the first day, as crazy and as hectic as it was, everything was displayed so nicely, and the colors, I'm still so impressed with the psychological planning that goes into how you place the colors of the vegetables together. That's amazing. And how your team also supported all the open houses with the taste testing and all that. So thank you. So the behind the scenes people like Ms. Johnson and all of Ms. Boston Ellis's team made the beginning of the school year very smooth. So thank you all. This summer, we talked about our teachers and keeping them and helping them continue their abilities and increasing their skill set. This summer, we had over 1,700 teachers go through professional development this summer, and many took advantage of that ahead of coming back to school so that they were up on the new CKLA curriculum, and we were excited to be able to pay them stipends, and that came out of Title II. Mr. McGowan wanted me to mention that this summer too, that the QSMAs were carefully vetted by teachers and that every item on the QSMAs was given the chance for editing by teachers. So as those come around, we are very excited that these teachers took the time to vet the questions and sit with his staff. We want to celebrate some teachers, and Fallon Driver, who is a career education facilitator, was selected to participate in the Agri-Science Educational Leadership Program. That is the same program that Mr. McAteer was a part of last year. And this is a commissioner's appointed committee. Actually, Mr. Vianello nominated Miss Driver, and so she will go through an entire year of training, getting a better understanding of Florida's natural resources, leadership development. They will travel across the state, talking to industry sectors, talking about agriculture and diversifying how we implement agriculture, and that'll work right well with you, Ms. Johnson. So there you go. But a great partnership with the Florida Farm Bureau. Now, Ms. Driver has served the students of Marion County for 8 years in agri-science, and she is currently, as I said, the district career education facilitator. So this is a great honor. There was only like 5 or 6 people across the state that were chosen for that.
I'm sorry, I was asking if we have a shade meeting.
Okay, so we celebrate her, and we also celebrate August 4th. We welcomed a lot of folks to the mall. That was our back to school bash at the mall, and Ms. Shafty and her team were the primary organizers of that. And we had, she said, close to 1,000 folks that we counted that came through the middle of the mall, and that was just a great way to reach out to the community to let them know school is starting and the resources for families and parents. We also, that morning, I attended an event at Central Christian Church, and I think this is a great example of how the community has wrapped their arms around our schools, and Central Christian Church has done this back-to-school batch primarily for Wyomina Park, but this year they said the outreach to schools, many schools, Oakcrest and others, that they are serving those kids. And when I got there, about 10 minutes after it started, there was already a line out the door of kids just wanting to get out there and play. Not only did they have backpacks and clothes for the kids, but they also had haircuts. They had a huge carnival atmosphere, and so it was just a great opportunity for these kids to get basic needs met as well as have fun. And we have to remember that these kids need to have fun as well. And so we thank them and all the other community agencies that have reached out and helped us just wrap our arms around these kids. And like I mentioned, that day was also the Oakcrest back-to-school event at Deer Run, the 2nd annual, and that was very successful. And then that evening was a charity event for our school system and the Humane Society. Dory and Marty Funk put on a wrestling fundraiser. Mr. Funk was a wrestler in the 1980s, quite successful with the WWE, I guess it was WWF then, Wrestling Federation, yes. And so they continue to give back to the community, and they organized this event. And I'm going to talk about the Bark Bus in just a minute, but it was to raise funds to help us with that initiative between our school system and the Humane Society. And August 3rd was the Feed the Need concert. And again, the community reaching out and supporting our schools. And Feed the Need is a philanthropic organization comprised of many different restaurants and retailers locally. And a great concert was put on for our students that was a great fundraiser. And we'll be hearing more about that coming up soon. And then the Tools for Teaching that you mentioned, but Tools for Teaching, they had over 1,000 teachers go through this year. I didn't get the exact numbers from Mrs. Anetti yet, but the day I was there, it was packed, and she said that over 1,000 had registered. Now, Tools for Teaching is a free resource for all of our teachers in Marion County, where they can get school supplies as they need. And so no family should ever worry that they can't get the items on the school supply list, and no teachers should ever worry that they don't have things for their classroom. And as Mrs. King can say too, as teachers, we always want to buy the fun stuff, but we shouldn't have to worry about those necessities or worry about things coming out of our pocket. We should be buying the fun stuff. And Tools for Teaching did have pink Post-its though. And that was pretty awesome. And when I was going through checking out everything that they had, oh my gosh, I came across this book and they had about 10 copies, The Cabin Faced West by Jean Fritz, and I read this in 4th grade. And I had a moment there with Judy, and I had a moment, and I couldn't believe it. This book had touched my heart in 4th grade, and so she let me take it home, and I'm thankful to her for that, because I've just finished reading that as well. On August 10th, Friday, The Rock opened at Forest High School, and The Rock transformed the room from the events of April 20th at Forest High School. It is no longer the room where the event happened. It is The Rock, and The Rock is now a welcoming meeting place for all students to go, to know that they are loved, to get basic supplies, and also to have their emotional needs met when necessary. So we are thankful to Feed the Need and to that organization and to have set that up at Forest High School. August 13th, hey, that was yesterday, and that was the first day of school. And how you feeling today, Kevin?
Good to go.
Yeah, so Kevin and I think it was, what was it, 150?
You and I were 125.
We did 120, oh gosh, and Dr. Grantham and Joel did 150 miles. So, a lot of miles. We, between Dr. Grantham and I, we got to every school, and that was just a great event, about 12-hour day, and that was fabulous. It was fabulous. Then we had a wrap-up meeting. Thank you for attending. Thanks for doing car duty at Bellevue. Thank you. But it was great to see everybody and to get the positive thoughts, and the tweets were great. Thank you for providing that. And we'll talk more about that later. And with that great start to the year and some great feedback, I did want to share 2 emails from folks. And one was actually from a parent at Westport who reached out to Miss Cruz, the principal at Westport. And I guess within 5 minutes or so, Ms. Cruz got back to this parent, and the parent wanted us to know, Dr. Mayor, thank you for getting back with me. I've spoken with Ms. Cruz, who has thoroughly answered my questions. I would like to recognize her prompt and articulate attention. Ms. Cruz is an asset to Westport. Thank you for all you do as well. And thank you, Ms. Sheridan. We think she's fabulous as well. And also from a teacher at Vanguard, he says, good morning, Dr. Mayor. I hope you're well. I know you're busy, but I wanted to gush about some things. And he did say gush. He said, thus far, our administration in the district goes out of their way to accommodate if possible. Communication lanes are wide open. I'm better prepared for our first day than I've ever been. I'm excited about the new school year. I'm learning loads, curriculum, and administrative based. I am as optimistic as ever. I just thought you should know. So thank you, Mr. Bright, for sharing that, and I'm glad to share it with everybody as well. Ms. Boynton, earlier you mentioned about having legislative congressman or whatever. Well, we have one coming.
Okay. Great.
Yes. August 22nd, we are so pleased that Congressman Dunn will be visiting our kids at Denellen High School. And thank you, Mr. McAteer, for helping to arrange all that. So all of the principals of the Denellen schools will be attending, and our high school kids too. And Congressman Dunn reached out in anticipation of Constitution Month and Founding Fathers Month, which is September. So he's going to come and have a roundtable discussion with our kids on August 22nd. We'll get those, the exact times. It'll be a lunchtime meeting, and we'll get that all to you. And I know Mr. McAteer is listening, so I know he'll reach out to you and give you those times. I also wanted to let you know that we have a new Alice protocol video. The intro has been redone, and thank you again, Mr. Christian, for helping with that and getting that up on the website and out to our teachers. And it's the same information with a little added emphasis about the door. As a mom, my first instinct, if somebody is knocking on if we're under Alice, I want to unlock that door and let somebody in, but we can't. And it breaks my heart, but we can't. So that is some extra emphasis in that. We're looking forward to Monday, August 20th, and you mentioned the CDL program and the trucks that were donated, and so we're looking forward to that, and that will be, our CDL program will start behind Booster Stadium, and it will be a 8-week course, and we will be graduating driver certified. So we're very excited. We have the first class full. We've got waiting lists. It's my understanding, Mr. Vianello. Thank you for that. And we'll keep you updated on that as well. The BARK bus is coming to Marion County Public Schools, and we were so excited that this summer we were able to do the dry run with our summer school classes. And this is going to be a great resource, not only for us, but for the Humane Society, as they will be able to, as they drive their bus around, get that attention to the shelter and to the needs of the shelter. And we will be having a special relationship between Oakcrest and the Humane Society, because they are in such close proximity, and also because of the special needs of Oakcrest. And so the BARK bus will be visiting a little extra to Oakcrest to help those kids, and they'll be doing some interventions with reading, as well as empathy and character-based education. Our Community Reads website is up and going, and we ask you to look for the book at marionschools.net. And Mr. Clark pulled the analytics on it, and we have had close to 1,000 hits already, and that's even before school started. I think the Back to School Bash had a lot to do with that, as we were showcasing that. And we also have, for each of you, I'll pass this down, our elementary ed team put together that they were giving these out at the Back to School Bash, and they'll also have them for schools, magnets for the refrigerator with the QR code, as well as bookmarks, so one for each of you. Elena, I have one for you too, and then Mr. Gibbs for each of your daughters, so we'll pass those down to you. So we want to thank the elementary school team for putting that together. And you can say it better than I can, Kevin, so do you want to share? So Kevin's going to share, and then I just have one wrap-up after Kevin.
Certainly, this afternoon, you may not have had a chance to read it yet, but I did send out a media release regarding the summer awards season for school PR in the state of Florida. I came to you 2 board meetings ago and shared the Sunspur Awards with you. We've received a few more since that time, so I would like to share those with you real quickly. There are basically 3 organizations that provide professional awards to school, public relations, and then also public relations as a general industry in the state of Florida. Of course, you've already heard about Sunspur, those awards there. We earned 2 first-place medallion awards and the Best of Show award, which we have won that now for 3 years in a row, and that's the first district that's ever done that, and it's also the first time in Sunspur history that a single district has done that. Beyond that, the National School Public Relations Association, which is NSPRA, honored us with 2 awards. We received 2 honorable mentions. This one is for the school calendar, of which we just distributed 54,000 copies, and I will ensure that each of you get your own copy. And then we also won for a speech that was delivered at the Teacher of the Year, the Golden Apple Celebration, so we're honored to have those. And then last Tuesday night, I had the honor of driving to the Jacksonville area with our superintendent to accept some awards up there. And if you know anything about FPRA, the Florida Public Relations Association, it is actually, you may not have known this, but Florida Public Relations and the public relations industry began right here in Ocala at Silver Springs in 1938. Does that sound right, Beth? I think it's 38 or 39. But Edward Bernays was the founder of public relations as we know it in this country today. And so we're real proud as part of FPRA, and also with the local chapter of FPRA, of which I'm a member, to be able to promote the public relations industry as a whole. To earn any kind of award from FPRA is a tremendous accomplishment in and of itself. And I mean any award, but we walked away with 4 awards, and the first award is an award of distinction, and this is basically getting the bang for the buck, the most bang for the buck. This is for our calendar project. We produced 54,000 of those calendars at a cost of about 29 cents per copy. So to keep something on their family refrigerator at home for an entire year for 29 cents, I don't know that you'll find a better investment, even in an election cycle, those of you who are having things printed. So very happy with that award. Then also, we were honored for our ALICE protocol training video. This is a judge's award, which basically says your award is good enough to meet the criteria, the strict criteria that we are looking for. And we have won 2 of these in my 12 years as a member of FPRA. So they're very, very hard to get, and they're very coveted. I'm also proud of this award. Again, this is for the ALICE protocol. This is a Golden Image Award. It only gets one bigger than this, and you have to have another person to carry it if you get the bigger one. So I think they had about maybe 10 or 12 of these handed out. Now keep in mind, FPRA is not just school systems. There were 3 school systems there that night, but it encompasses any PR at all, public or private. You have an incredible amount of private advertising and public relations agencies that are for-profit. You have nonprofits involved. The City of Tallahassee did a great job this year. They won a lot of awards, but we walked away with a Golden Image Award, and I think there were only 3 of these in our Ocala chapter, and that's a humongous, humongous accomplishment. So I'm really proud of this. We've never won one of these before, so it's really because of everybody. I would say, I need to say a special thank you to the staff at North Marion High School, because they're the stars of the ALICE training, or the ALICE protocol training video. It is required viewing, as Dr. Mayer, you said, it is updated this year. In addition to content from you and Dr. Grantham at the beginning, we've also added additional content at the end with Mr. Collins and Mr. McFadden on additional ways that teachers can secure their rooms, creative ways with whatever they might have sitting around. So kudos to the North Marion High School staff and my production team that really worked really hard to put this together. It's their award. I just happened to get to accept it. So, and then, Dr. Mayer, do you want to talk about this one since you knew about it all along?
No, you can do it better justice than I, yes.
Each year, FPRA awards one member with what they call the Fleischman Award. And Doris Fleischman was the wife of Edward Bernays and basically the backbone of support behind the scenes for the public relations industry for the many years that he was involved in it and led FPRA. So each year, FPRA honors one of its 1,200 plus members for their support behind the scenes, both for the industry and the profession, and for FPRA as a whole and at the local chapter. So I was excited to go to Jacksonville with the superintendent with me to accept the awards that I just shared with you. And I was gung-ho. I was like, all right, I expected 2 awards. We're going home with 3. That's great. I feel good. In my mind, I'm thinking that's 150% return on what I expected, so I was feeling pretty good. And then all of a sudden, they introduced the Doris Fleischman Award, and they started talking about this year's nominee. And as they went through the script of this year's qualifying factors for the nominee, I thought, oh, well, okay, I've done that. And then they said, well, this year's nominee has just become the credential chair for the 3rd year in a row for their chapter, and I thought, well, oh, okay, I've done that. But there are 15 chapters in the state, so. And then they said, and then this year's nominee has also mentored an APR from another county. And I thought, okay, well, I did that. And I don't know what was said after that, because the next thing I remember them saying was Kevin Christian from the Ocala chapter. So I'm beyond words and certainly beyond humbled to be named the Doris Fleischman Unsung Hero Award recipient for 2018 from the Florida Public Relations. I appreciate that more than you know, and I will always say that I may be holding the award and my name may be on it, but there are thousands of people that make this possible. And Dr. Mayer, thank you for the support, the surprise, because you did know. And I've been with the district 17 years now, and I have never regretted my move one day, ever. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to share what Kevin said after he won the award for Alice, and he came back with it, and he sat down, and he said to the people at our table that it meant that award meant the most to him because of what it represented, and that you and your team saved lives that day because of that video. So thank you for that. And then after the final award, and you sat down and you said, "This is not for me. This is not the caliber. It's Tony James and the caliber of Tony James." And Lauren was sitting next to me, and Lauren and I looked at him and said, "But you're that caliber, Kevin." So we appreciate that very much. We appreciate that. And just a final thank you. I want to say thank you to the folks at the Florida Department of Education, Commissioner Stewart. Thank you and your team for meeting with us and for scheduling some more meetings and moving forward. And he's not here this evening, but I want to say thank you to Dr. Grantham. Dr. Grantham is, as you know, amazing, but I want to thank him so much for his outreach and his organization of these meetings that are going to be taking place, and we are in a good place. And again, I thank the commissioner, I thank Dr. Grantham, and good things are coming. So I'm done finally.
Thank you very much.
A lot of
And
happy.
Dr. Grantham is ill, and so I'm sure he's watching on TV, but he has been ill all day, so.
Should be sleeping.
Should be sleeping. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, August 16th, 2018 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss the budget, the capital part of the budget, which includes the 5-year work plan. At this time, I would like to recognize Board's Attorney, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you. And before I get started on my part, I did want to add on that, since we were talking about the trucking thing, I've heard from the county that they are going to do the maintenance on the trucks that we get.
Nice.
And they're only going to charge us their costs for the parts. So
Excellent.
they're partnering with us just to give you that update.
Excellent.
All right, thank you. On board, on behalf of Attorney 2 Pham with Greenspoon Martyr, PA, I am notifying you that advice is needed regarding the pending case of the School Board of Marion County, Florida versus Richard M. Colbert and Michael P. Spellman as trustees of the Shawnee Irrevocable Trust. Pursuant to Section 286.011 Sub 8 Florida statutes, known as the Government in the Sunshine Act, I am requesting a session with the board for the purpose of discussing settlement negotiations and strategy related to this matter. I will ask the board secretary to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this session and the names of the persons attending to be published. It is suggested that the session be held following the August 23rd, 2018 administrative briefing and work session, which begins at 9 a.m. As required by this statute, only the following individuals will be present: Beth McCall, Chair; Angie Boynton, Vice Chair; Kelly King, School Board Member; Bobby James, School Board Member; Nancy Stacy, School Board Member; Dr. Heidi Mayer, School Superintendent; Paul Gibbs, School Board Attorney. I will ask a court reporter to record the session, also as required by statute. Her notes will be fully transcribed and filed with the clerk of the school board. Upon the conclusion of the litigation, the transcripts will be made public record.
I recommend the board hold an attorney-client session pursuant to Section 286.0118 Florida statutes to discuss pending litigation.
If there are no objections, I will instruct our attorney-client session to be held following the August 23rd, 2018 administrative briefing and work session scheduled for 9 a.m. Are you okay? All right.
I'm gonna possibly be out part of that day. Rocky's there's some issues going on, so.
Okay. Yeah, and I think
As long as you
probably it
have a
won't be
quorum,
too long. Yeah.
I might not be here.
Okay.
It should take like 10 minutes, probably.
Okay. All right, I understand. All right. Ms. Martinez Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
Yes.
Okay. So this, I still have to do this one, right, after? We do this after?
No, we do now.
Okay. So, let's go ahead and do the ones that we can vote on now. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 18-16E with educational services through the remainder of the 2017-18 school year and the first semester of the 2018-19 school year. Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. My computer just cut off. You just touch it, and we'll come back.
No, you have to, like, hit that.
That makes me go.
Let's see, aye. Just say aye.
She knows. I already talked to her. Motion passed 4-1.
4-1, huh? Was it me?
What was it?
It's mine.
It was Ms. Boynton. You can change it. It was an accident.
It should be.
She said she would like to change her vote.
Well, yes, I had it right. I had yes on it. Yes, I did that. So it's okay. Yes, though.
Okay, 5-0. All right, may I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 18-118 without educational services through the remainder of the 2017-2018 school year and the entire 2018-19 school year? Moved by Ms. King,
Second.
second by Mr. James. There's no discussion. All those in favor, please vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 18-105, JD 18-114, JD 18-117 with educational services through the remainder of the 2017-18 school year and the entire 2018-19 school year? Moved by Ms. King, seconded by Ms. Boynton. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor vote aye, and opposed, like sign. Oh, B, sorry. Motion passed 5-0. This concludes the televised business portion of the meeting. To protect the privacy of students, we will take a short recess. Before proceeding, we will need to clear the room, please, and we will recess at 7:28.
Who are the kids on the front row? Kelly, who's the other girl right there?
I thought they were here